Which players are falling in dynasty value over the last month? We're talking about that in today's video. As always, give us a like and subscribe. Help us get to 1,300 subscribers. If you didn't catch our Dynasty Risers video, check that out. Put it out a couple of days ago. We put these out every single month, trying to keep tabs on the market, who's rising, who's falling. These are all according to keeptradecut. So is it a perfect tool? No. But does it give you at least a feel for what the community is feeling about some of these dynasty players? I think it helps. It helps to keep an eye on it. So today we're talking about dynasty fallers. Normally we start off with the quarterback position, but honestly, not much happening in the quarterback position. That's super exciting. So we're just going to get right into it. By the way, we're less than a week away from the NFL draft starting. So I wanted to get this video out before the NFL draft. And then obviously we'll make another one a couple weeks after the NFL draft because that's going to change a lot of dynasty rankings. But Breece Hall, only falling 2 spots. But again, when you're in the top 6, which he was, falling a couple spots is significant enough. And basically he's fallen behind Bucky Irving and rookie Omarion Hampton, right? He's just ahead of guys like Jonathan Taylor and Kyron Williams. And sure, I get it. What's interesting about Breece Hall is like we know this guy could be RB1 potential. I know it came out with Aaron Glenn saying we're going to use all 3 running backs and things like that. And yeah, I wouldn't doubt that they're going to use multiple running backs, but Breece Hall is the best running back on that team, and to me, it's not even close. He's going to get 65% of the snaps, in my opinion, maybe 70% of the snaps. And he has the possibility to have a top 5 running back season. And I don't think we would be shocked. He's still only 23 years old, which is kind of crazy to think about. He'll be 24 by the time the season starts, but still only 24 years old. He's going into his 4th year. And again, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a big season from Breece Hall. It's going to be interesting to see how that team runs, offensively with Justin Fields at the helm. Seemingly all year is kind of what they're going for. I do think we're going to see less catches from Breece Hall, but that can be made up a little bit. I still think he's going to get catches, but that could be made up a little bit by just the touchdowns. We haven't seen a double-digit touchdown season from Breece Hall, and I think if that offense kind of clicks a little bit with the Lions system coming over, with Justin Fields, with Garrett Wilson, maybe another weapon that they draft in Breece Hall, that offense could click a little bit, and I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a double-digit touchdown season from Breece Hall. I just don't know if we're going to see 50-plus catches from him, which we've had over the last 2 years, 57 and over 70, I believe, in 2023. I don't really see those kind of numbers. I mean, just looking at Justin Fields when he was with the Bears, we had Roschon Johnson had 34 catches, Khalil Herbert had 20. So, I mean, if you combine those, maybe that was back in 2023. In 2022, we had David Montgomery with 34, Khalil Herbert with 9. So, I mean, I think we're happy with 40-plus receptions from Breece Hall, and then give him 12, 14 touchdowns, and let's see what happens. So Breece Hall is falling a little bit. I don't mind the dip in dynasty value, but I still think he's a guy that has top 5 running back potential. Chase Brown from 15 to 17. Again, like I think this is mostly because of some rookies moving ahead of him. Quinshon Judkins in particular, I think, has moved ahead of him. And that's fine. Like, I think Chase Brown is kind of where he should be. Maybe he's a little bit underrated. I mean, if you look at him versus a guy like Kenneth Walker, for example, I know Kenneth Walker is ranked higher. Kenneth Walker's still he's still RB13 according to keeptradecut. Should Chase Brown be that, 4 or 5 spots below Kenneth Walker? Probably not. I mean, we've seen a season from Chase Brown that I don't think we have seen from Kenneth Walker in terms of a complete season. Now, Kenneth Walker has averaged more points than Chase Brown last year, but he missed like 5-6 games, right? So, that's the issue with Kenneth Walker. Anyways, I don't see. I know a lot of people are speculating that the Bengals are going to go potentially take a running back in specifically in round 2. I don't really see that. I would be a little surprised if they did that. If they took a running back in day one or day two, right? So I'm talking about rounds 1, 2, or 3. I do think they potentially take a running back round 4, round 5, but I'm not gonna. I'm gonna be less worried about that running back affecting Chase Brown's production. But Chase Brown's not their issue whatsoever. Chase Brown on this offense can be basically what Joe Mixon was for this team the last few years. Like Chase Brown can put up those kind of numbers. He can put up 50 plus catches like he did last year. He can average 4.2 yards per carry. He can get to double digit touchdowns. So unless they draft a running back in like round 2, maybe round 3, um, to me, Chase Brown's going to be a low end RB1, just like Mixon was all those years at the Bengals. And then last one that we're talking about here is DeAndre Swift, and he's falling just a little bit, and I get why he's falling as well because of the people are putting 2 and 2 together with Ben Johnson coming over from the Lions, and Ben Johnson was the offensive coordinator when they moved on from DeAndre Swift and all of this stuff. We expect the Bears to take a running back in the draft, maybe in the first round. I wouldn't be shocked if Ashton Genty fell to 10th overall, that the Bears take him. They're definitely in play to take one in the second round. You see them in mock drafts. You see them get mock Travion Henderson, Omarion Hampton, guys like that. I would be shocked if the Bears don't take a running back in the first 3 rounds. That being said, I actually think that's going to be better for Swift in a way. Like I don't think Swift is as good as what he was like in 2023 and 2024, like doing where he had 268 touches and then 295 touches on the Bears in 2024. And I don't think Swift is that type of player that you want to be giving 250 plus touches to him. I kind of think of his 2022 season, his 2021 and 2022 season, where he was 213 touches, 147 touches, specifically the 2022 season, 147 touches in 14 games, right? I kind of feel like that's where Swift should be, right? Where he's getting basically 10 to 12 touches a game, and you're hoping that three to four of those are catches. And I still think Swift can actually be pretty good with the Bears, even if they take a running back. I don't think they're going to be able to replace Swift and draft another running back. I think they want 2 running backs, so I don't think they're going to be able to draft one and replace Swift in the same draft. Maybe they could, but they would probably have to take a running back twice in the first 4 picks, and they have other needs. Fill out the offensive line. Defensively, they have some needs. And you look at DeAndre Swift, and I think we think, oh my God, this guy was a complete bust for the Lions, and he actually wasn't. If you actually look at like what Swift did, his 3 seasons on the Lions in 2020, this is all in PPR points per game. DeAndre Swift was the RB 18 in points per game. In 2021, DeAndre Swift was the RB 10 in points per game, and in 2022, DeAndre Swift was the RB 16 in points per game. He was literally a very strong RB2 at his time when he was playing in Detroit. The issue was he always missed games, missed 3, 4, and 3 games. So he missed a handful of games. Right, he missed 10 games over his 3 seasons in Detroit. Was always seemingly injured. But I actually think like if they draft someone like a Genty, like a Hampton, something like that, like I actually think like Swift is still going to be kind of a value here. I think people are assuming, oh my God, it's all going to be that running back. That's not how they ran the Lions offense. So I assume Ben Johnson's going to want to mix DeAndre Swift in, even if they do draft, a big time player, right? I mean, Jahmyr Gibbs is the perfect example of like Jahmyr Gibbs is much better than David Montgomery, and that offense is better when Jahmyr Gibbs is playing 80% of the snaps. But that being said, that's not how they want to run their offense. So I think DeAndre Swift is like a sneaky little buy low potentially, especially when they draft a running back. He's going to fall even more in value, and I think he could still give you RB2 production this year in PPR. into some wide receivers. We have Ted McMillan falling from 16 to 19. Um, and it's kind of interesting, because usually I think most people still think, depending on what you feel about Travis Hunter and what position he's going to play. If we just exclude Travis Hunter, Ted McMillan is most people's wide receiver one. Matthew Golden is also there, right? Matthew Golden is also there. Actually, Matthew Golden, I think a lot of people are speculating that he could potentially be drafted the first wide receiver. But I think for most people, Ted McMillan is the wide receiver one. And it's kind of interesting, like the wide receiver one in a draft class not being ranked that high. Like I look at, I think even Jackson Smith and Jigba was a top 15 wide receiver pre-draft. And so, Ted McMillan is pretty low for what we consider the wide receiver one. But just wanted to throw this out there. Like people are a little bit lower on the wide receiver one potentially in this draft class than any other draft class that I've known in the last 4 or 5 years. Now, that kind of makes sense because we've been talking about it's a weaker draft class, but I still think Ted McMillan's a good player. He has a skill set that teams really, really covet. A guy who's big, strong. He's big and strong. He can play on the outside. You can move him around. He can also play in the slot. Like he has, a skill set that normally you don't find with these type of big receivers. 6'4", 220. He ran in the mid 4.5, so he has good enough speed. He can play in the slot. He can play on the outside. So, a lot of people still covet that. And it's just interesting that Ted McMillan is falling a little bit in the Dynasty community's eyes. Obviously, that will change if he goes top 10 or whatever. Zay Flowers from wide receiver 21 to 24. And I've been talking about Zay Flowers for a while now and just saying, like, I don't think – I understand why he's ranked here because he's a young receiver who is productive, right? He's still only 24 years old. He'll be 25 to start the year. He's been productive in his career, over 900 total scrimmage yards and 1,100 total scrimmage yards each of his first 2 years. The issue is he's not a big catch guy, 77 and 74. So he's averaging, under 5 receptions a game. Is that right? Yeah, under 5 receptions a game. And he hasn't been a big touchdown guy. In a year where Lamar Jackson threw as many touchdowns as he just did, right? Lamar Jackson just threw 41 touchdowns, the most that he's ever thrown for. Do we see him repeating that? I don't bet on people throwing 40 touchdowns ever, right? And to do it in back-to-back seasons, is it possible? Sure. Is it likely? No. Despite all of that, Zay Flowers still only had 4 touchdowns. So it's just, we're lacking there. We're not getting the receptions. We're not getting the touchdowns. Maybe if we had more carries, like that's a sneaky. Can you get him to 20 or 25 carries rather than 8 or 9? I mean, he averages, over in his career 6.6 yards per attempt. So like if we get him to 20 carries, let's say, that adds an extra 130, yards onto his total, right? And instead of being 1,100 total yards, he's 1,250, and that helps a little bit, right? Throw in a couple of rushing touchdowns here and there. So I just don't see it for Zay Flowers. Like, yeah, he's young. He's a first-round pick. He's been productive. He's on one of the best offenses in the league. Like, he has all of that going for him. And despite all of that, here is his PPR finish in points per game, right? Zay Flowers. His PPR finish in points per game is wide receiver 32. And I think he was even worse last year, wide receiver 36. That's his PPR finish in points per game the last year. So he's a wide receiver 3, despite being a first-round pick, productive your first 2 years, on one of the best offenses. We know he's a good player. It's the Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry show, and that's what it's going to be next year. I mean, Mark Andrews, you still got guys like Bateman who are going to take touchdowns away from him. So I don't know. It's a little bleak for Zay Flowers, in my opinion. I'm looking to trade down from him, but I've heard from the community, despite him being ranked here as a top 24 guy, people just don't want to trade for him. So you can let me know there in the comments if like. Have you tried to trade Zay Flowers, and are you just getting no luck whatsoever? And what would you trade him for in this year's draft? I think I would trade him for a late first. I think I would cash out even the 111, 110, 111, 112 and take take the pick and just kind of re-roll and see what happens with another player that I get there. Jerry Jeudy falling a little bit. I don't know exactly why. My only guess is with the Travis Hunter news that the Browns are seemingly going to take Travis Hunter. That being said, to me, Jerry Jeudy's been a buy low all offseason. Talked about him as a buy low. I mean, the guy's coming off a career year, put up over 1,200 total, 1,200 receiving yards, only 4 touchdowns and 90 catches. So he was productive, really productive there. I know he had a couple big games, which are inflating his point value a little bit, But you look at what he was doing with a guy like Jameis Winston, and now they have Flacco, who. Is Flacco guaranteed to be the starter? No. Is he guaranteed to even, recapture what he was with the Browns a couple of years ago? No. But that being said, even if they draft Travis Hunter, I think they're going to be using him on both sides of the ball. And I think that's going to cut into how many snaps he plays on offense. So there's a good chance that like Travis Hunter, although he plays majority of his snaps on offense, because he is also playing on defense, he might only play 65% on offense, and then maybe, 30% on defense or something like that. So just keep that in mind. Like, I still think Judy's going to be really, really good. Even if Travis Hunter, is playing a little bit more than we think on the offensive side of the ball, I still think Jerry Jeudy can be good, especially if Flacco is the quarterback. So to me, he's a buy low. To me, he's going to have wide receiver 2 production, and he's not even being valued as a wide receiver 3, essentially. And I get why, because he was a bust. Right? He was a bust to start his career. He wasn't terrible. Like, he had a couple good seasons there, over 1,000 total yards in 2022. His rookie year wasn't bad, like pretty good for a rookie, 50 catches, 856 yards and stuff like that. So, still only 26 years old. We could be seeing a couple of strong years. Every now and then we get these receivers who we thought were busts, and then they kind of pop back up and like, oh yeah, this guy, right? Jerry Jeudy could be one of those players. And to be completely honest, like, who did he have in Denver as his quarterbacks? He had Drew Lock and a shell of himself of Russell Wilson. So, like, was it completely on Jerry Jeudy? The basically the only time we've seen him with a quarterback who's slinging it is Jameis Winston, and he's been good. So, like, maybe it wasn't completely on Jeudy, his kind of disappointing start to his career. Into some tight ends here, just 2 tight ends to talk about. Cade Otton is falling from 15 to 20, and this one I'm really not sure why he's fallen. 5 spots is pretty significant for a tight end in the middle of February, mid-March to mid-April. Like, why is Cade Otton falling? I'm not 100% sure why he's falling. I mean, is there speculation that the Bucks take a tight end or something? Is it the Chris Godwin signing? Maybe, but like even when Godwin and Mike Evans were healthy, like to begin the year, Cade Otton was still getting some targets. Like, he started off the year slow, only 4 targets and 1 catch in the first 2 games, but then he had 8, 9, 4, and 6. And I forget when. I'm just going to double check here when guys like Chris Godwin and Mike Evans went out, but they were playing during that time for sure. So Chris Godwin's last game was week 7. And so Cade Otton from week 3 to 7, 8, 9, 4, 6, 10 targets. So like, he was getting targets there. What I like about Cade Otton is he's one of those tight ends that just plays all the time. He plays over 90% of the snaps. And for that reason, even if they have a lot of mouths to feed in Mike Evans and Jalen McMillan and Chris Godwin and Rashad White and Bucky Irving, because he's playing over 90% of the snaps, averaged 92.4% of the snaps last year. Because of that, he is going to put up at least passable numbers, right? He's going to put up passable numbers. So I guess it's I know he had an injury, right? He had a knee injury, but it wasn't torn or anything, because I thought he was he played in the wild card game. Yeah, he did play in the wild card game. So I don't know. I don't know why he's fallen. 5 spots, but he has. So maybe he's a guy to down tier too. I like down tiering at the tight end position because honestly, Tight end 7 to 20, there's not going to be a whole lot of difference. There really isn't. Noah Gray is falling a little bit. I mean, that's probably because Travis Kelsey's back and stuff like that. I don't know. I don't really have much to say here. There's not really much movement on the tight end market at all, which makes sense. But Noah Gray has fallen for what it's worth. And I don't really see Noah Gray being anything as long as Kelsey's there. So now we'll finish up with the quarterbacks here. Derek Carr from 32 to 35. I'm just really confused about this whole situation. Like now it's coming out that this potential shoulder injury is Carr's camp coming out because they're unhappy with New Orleans and want to get traded. But why would you say you have like a potential season-ending, career-ending shoulder injury? How is that going to help you get traded to a team? I don't really understand that logic. I don't even know what's going on there, to be honest, but he's falling and I get why. I have him here on the Raiders. He should be in a Saints uniform. Yeah, I mean, that's it for Derek Carr. Like Derek Carr at best is in a super flex league is your QB3. Preferably I have him as my QB4, but if he's your QB3 and you have two top tier guys, sure. That being said, like we're at risk of him potentially not even playing this year if that injury is legit. And even if it's not, like maybe the Saints are just going to be like, you know what? We're going to draft someone at 9, Shedeur Sanders or Jackson Dart, or we're going to roll with Spencer Rattler and see what he has in us. And then we'll address has for us. And then we'll address the quarterback position after, right? And when we tank essentially. So, and then Quinn Ewers, another rookie here, falling a little bit. I was never the biggest Quinn Ewers fan. My only reason I'm bringing this up is basically like the hit rate for quarterbacks drafted, round 3 or later is really, really bad. There's been over the last 10 seasons, there's hardly been any quarterbacks who've been drafted really in day 2 or beyond. It's all been top tier guys, right? The only quarterbacks drafted day 2 or later who have really done something are Jalen Hurts, Dak Prescott over the last 10 years, and then Brock Purdy. And then you have a couple guys like Jacoby Brissett and Gardner Minshew who've been at least like bench worthy, right? That's it. Everyone else has been a bust. So like the hit rate for and this is second round and later. The hit rate for quarterbacks drafted second round or later is very low. I know there's some other ones like Kirk Cousins, who didn't make the cutoff. This is since 2015, and Kirk Cousins was drafted, or before that. So, and so I'm bringing that up and just saying these quarterbacks, like you're going to probably get a decent amount of quarterbacks drafted in round 3, 4, 5. Will Howard, Quinn Ewers, Tyler Shuck, guys like this. Dylan Gabriel, it's going to be very, very unlikely that they do anything. So just keep that in mind when you're looking at these quarterbacks here. So kind of have to be. The NFL kind of tells us with quarterbacks if they're going to be good or not. And it's basically like either you're worth a first-round pick or you're worth like a third round at best. There's not even a lot of, since 2015, there's only been 6 quarterbacks taken in the second round, 2 in the top 50, and then 4 more, outside the top 50. That's it. So not even one a year. You would think, but all the times we look at mock drafts, we always see, this team's going to, they didn't take a quarterback in the first round. They're going to trade up in the early second and take someone. It just doesn't happen. It just never happens. Only 6 quarterbacks drafted in the second round. So just keep that in mind. The NFL really does tell us what they think about quarterbacks. So appreciate everyone for watching, and make sure to like and subscribe to the channel and join our Discord real quick before you close out the video. Make sure to join our Discord. We're doing a giveaway. We're going to draw a name. We're going to go live after the first round of the NFL draft. We're going to draw a name, and that person is going to win a free team review from us. We'll review whatever team you want, whether it's a redraft team, a dynasty team, does not matter. And it's free. And so all you need to do is join our Discord, which is also free. Go down to the giveaway section, leave a comment, and you are entered. So appreciate it, everyone. And we'll see you all in the next video.